one more episode, or I can't leave this on a cliffhanger. I'm sure we've all thought something like this when watching a show. And any time that you've had these thoughts and maybe acted on them, you've probably engaged in binge watching. And binge watching as defined by Netflix, they did a study on this, or they just kind of released some statistics they had. They defined it as viewing between 2 to 6 episodes of a show within a single sitting. And often I will binge watch a show whenever I want to get caught up on something or when I just have nothing better to do. So it's just kind of something that's very common. It's become kind of a regular part of people's lives, and I'm going to talk about the effects of it. And by the end of this, I hope you will understand kind of how it affects you and maybe think of what you can do to maybe negate those effects. And binge watching kind of affects people both physically and mentally. For the physical effects, it can affect your spine, your lack of, and kind of affect your sleep, and it can also lead to obesity in some cases. To start off with, for your spine, normally whenever you're sitting down in a chair or something, and you're sitting kind of straight up, you might hunch a bit, and it kind of bends your spine into a C shape, and that causes pressure on the plates, and that'll cause pain, discomfort, and can cause some long-term spinal problems. And I've personally experienced this. It sucks. It's horrible. For the next part, for the obesity part, it's since you're just sitting there in a chair for maybe hours on end watching so many episodes, you're not really doing anything. You're just sitting there maybe eating a snack, just killing time. So you're not up and about, you're not getting any physical activities in this, you're not out exercising or doing anything that can maybe negate the risk of obesity. So that's kind of another issue. And how it can affect your sleep is just sitting and staring at fluorescent lights, blue light specifically. It affects the amount of melatonin production in your brain, and so it decreases it, and that's kind of like the sleep hormone. And whenever that decreases, you get less REM sleep, and you may get 8 hours of sleep and you still feel groggy or sleepy, anything. And that could come from binge watching a show, or it could come from just looking at your phone, anything. So, and how it affects us mentally, it can lead to feelings of loneliness and depression. There have been numerous reports of people feeling sad or anxious after finishing a show or after finishing a binge watching session, and they just feel empty after finishing these. And it's kind of been called post binge watching depression by some people. A Texas A&M study showed that binge watching was closely tied to depression and feelings of loneliness. They studied this like a small group of people at this college, and they found that people that were binge watching kind of regularly, they felt they had like a greater chance of saying they were feeling depressed or sad, lonely even. And a study by Monita Carmaker and Jessica Sloan Kruger, they did a follow-up study with a larger sample size. And they also found that the people who identified themselves as binge watchers were more likely to have feelings of stress and anxiety and depression. And just kind of as a quick disclaimer for this, it doesn't necessarily have any causal evidence, it could be the other way around, where because you're feeling anxious or stressful or depressed, you may binge watch more often. So there's kind of that, and it's still being studied. Those other two studies were done in 2015, and it's still being researched and studied to this day. And just in conclusion, I covered about how binge watching can negatively affect us both physically and mentally, with the spinal problems, weight gain, and sleep issues that it could lead to, and just it's how it's tied to feelings of depression. But next time you catch yourself binge watching a show, maybe consider the negative effects and think about how you can counteract by maybe fixing your posture to like decrease the amount of spinal issues that it could lead into, or by exercising, going outside a bit. That might affect your mental health as well and your physical health.